The first thing I noticed was my name wasn't there. Not on the program. Not beneath the 12-foot installation glowing above the ballroom. Not anywhere. I stood beneath 300 suspended glass birds, each one catching the chandelier light and throwing it across the walls like fragments of dawn. My design. My measurements. My sleepless nights. Ryan Caldwell's name appeared in gold beneath it. Creative director. I almost laughed. Instead, I tightened my fingers around the invitation in my hand until the thick paper bent. The gala filled Ethan Cross's hotel with the kind of people who never checked prices. Diamonds flashed beneath warm light. Champagne moved through the room on silver trays. A string quartet played softly near the marble staircase while donors spoke about generosity with watches worth more than my apartment. I had spent 6 months teaching myself how not to care about rooms like this. It took Ryan 6 seconds to prove I had learned nothing. He stood across the ballroom beside Madison Vale, his fiancée, his hand resting lightly against her waist. He looked exactly as I remembered. Perfect black tuxedo. Easy smile. The expression of a man who had never been forced to answer for the things he took. Madison whispered something. Ryan followed her gaze. His eyes found me. For one brief moment, his smile disappeared. Then it returned sharper. I should have left. I should have turned before he could cross the room and reopened every wound I had worked so hard to close. But above us, the glass birds shifted in the conditioned air, and soft shadows moved across the ceiling exactly as I had imagined them 3 years earlier. I had come to see my work exist. I refused to let him take that too. Claire. Ryan said my name loudly enough for the people around him to hear. Conversations softened. He approached with Madison on his arm and a small circle of investors following behind them. Madison wore silver silk and the calm expression of someone who had never been introduced as an inconvenience. I didn't realize you were invited, Ryan said. I was. His gaze moved over my simple black dress. It had cost me 2 weeks of grocery money, but under his eyes it felt borrowed. How nice. Madison smiled without warmth. You worked with Ryan, didn't you? Before I could answer, Ryan laughed. Claire was my assistant when the company was starting. Assistant. The word landed softly. That made it worse. I had built pitch decks on a cracked laptop while he slept. I had sketched hotel lobbies on napkins because we couldn't afford design software. I had convinced our first client to take a chance on us while Ryan waited outside, too nervous to speak. But he had taught the story to the room before I ever entered it. And wealthy people believed the person who looked most comfortable lying. Actually, I said, I handled. She was very passionate, Ryan interrupted. Sometimes passion makes people misunderstand their role. A few people smiled. One man gave a polite laugh into his champagne. My skin burned. I could feel the installation above me. Every line. Every hidden support. Every choice he had once called brilliant when no one else was listening. Madison looked toward the glass birds. Did you help with this event? Ryan answered for me. She had ideas. Claire always had ideas. More laughter. Not cruel enough to be challenged. Just cruel enough to make me feel small. I swallowed. The room blurred at the edges, but I kept my shoulders straight. Ryan wanted tears. Anger. Anything he could use to prove I was unstable, bitter, still desperate for his attention. So I gave him nothing. He raised his glass. Some people mistake proximity to talent for talent itself. This time, the laughter came easier. Something inside me cracked. Not loudly. Just enough. I looked toward the exit. Then a man's voice spoke behind me. Low. Controlled. Close enough to still the air. Then perhaps we should ask who created the room you're standing in. The laughter died. Ryan's face changed. I turned. Ethan Cross stood beside me in a black suit, one hand resting at his side, the other slowly extending toward mine. His eyes held no pity. Only certainty. "Dance with me," he said. For one suspended second, I forgot how to breathe. Ethan Cross's hand remained between us. Steady. Patient. As if the entire ballroom had not just tilted toward him. I looked at Ryan. The color had drained from his face so quickly it almost satisfied me. Almost. Then I looked back at Ethan. "I don't need rescuing," I said quietly. His expression didn't change. "Good." The orchestra shifted into a slower piece. Ethan lowered his voice. "Because if you walk away now, he decides what everyone remembers." My pulse thudded against my throat. "And if I dance with you? They remember you didn't break." It was not tenderness. It was not pity. It was something harder. Recognition. I placed my hand in his. The room inhaled. Ethan's fingers closed around mine with controlled pressure, warm and certain without becoming possessive. He guided me toward the center of the floor, and people moved before we reached them. No one questioned Ethan Cross. They simply made space. His other hand settled at my waist. "Can you dance?" he asked. "Can you?" The faintest curve touched his mouth. Then he moved. Smooth. Precise. Effortless. I followed because the alternative was stepping on shoes that probably cost more than my monthly rent. The chandeliers blurred above us. Music rose between the conversations. Every face I had wanted to escape was now watching me turn beneath the light. Ryan included. "Why did you interfere?" I asked. Ethan's gaze stayed on mine. "You were being cornered. That happens in rooms like this every day. Not in mine." The answer should have sounded arrogant. Instead, it sounded like a rule he had already enforced. He guided me through another turn, placing himself between me and Ryan's stare. I noticed it immediately. "You're blocking his view. I'm improving yours." I should not have smiled. But I did. Only for a second. Ethan saw it. Something in his eyes softened, then vanished so quickly I wondered whether I had imagined it. His attention shifted toward the installation above us. "The birds," he said. "Why glass?" The question caught me off guard. Because metal would have made them look trapped. And glass doesn't? Glass looks fragile. I glanced upward. But each piece can carry more weight than people expect. His hand tightened slightly at my waist. Not enough to restrain me. Enough to tell me he understood the answer had not been about birds. "What holds them?" he asked. 3 concealed tension lines running through the upper frame. The center line carries the visual weight, but the side lines keep the formation from collapsing. Ethan looked past my shoulder toward the ceiling. The published specifications show 2 lines. My steps faltered. He corrected our movement before anyone noticed. "That would be impossible," I whispered. 2 lines would pull the center pieces inward. They did. I stared at him. "What?" "During installation testing. 6 panels fractured." The music continued. Around us, people smiled, drank, watched. But the warmth had left my body. "How do you know that?" "This hotel belongs to me." Of course it did. The height of the ceilings. The silent security. The way the room obeyed him before he ever spoke. I had known Ethan Cross owned properties across the city. I had not known this was one of them. His gaze sharpened. The failure was corrected after an anonymous consultant sent revised calculations. My mouth went dry. I had sent those calculations 3 weeks ago after noticing the error in the event preview photographs. No signature. No invoice. I had told myself protecting the work mattered more than being credited for it. Ethan watched understanding move across my face. "That was you." It was not a question. I pulled slightly away. He let me create the distance, though we continued dancing. Did you bring me out here to interrogate me? No, then what is this? A confirmation. The final notes began to fade. At the edge of the floor, Ryan was no longer pretending indifference. His jaw was tight. One hand crushed the stem of his champagne glass. Ethan followed my gaze. Your former employer presented this design to my development board 3 years ago. My heartbeat stumbled. He couldn't have. He did. The orchestra fell silent. Applause rose around us. Ethan did not release my hand. He sold it as the foundation of a much larger project. I could barely hear my own voice. How do you know? His eyes moved to Ryan. Cold now. Unreadable. Because he tried to sell it to me. The applause sounded far away. Ethan released my waist, but not my hand. Come with me. It was not a request. I should have refused on principle. Instead, I followed him through a concealed door beside the ballroom. The noise disappeared behind us. A narrow corridor stretched ahead, lit by brass wall lamps and watched by 2 men in dark suits. They straightened when Ethan approached. One touched his earpiece. The other opened a second door without being told. No hotel owner needed that kind of obedience. No ordinary businessman carried silence around him like a weapon. Ethan led me onto a private balcony above the city. Rain had begun to mist against the glass railing, turning the streets below into rivers of red and white light. I pulled my hand from his. What exactly did Ryan show you? Ethan removed his phone and opened a file. A rendering appeared on the screen. A luxury waterfront complex. Glass towers curved around a suspended atrium filled with hundreds of translucent birds. My birds. But larger. More elaborate. Built from sketches I had never shown anyone outside Ryan's office. My stomach tightened. He called it the Caldwell Renewal Project, Ethan said. When? 2 years and 8 months ago. 3 months after Ryan ended our relationship. 2 weeks after he locked me out of the company account. I stared at the rendering until the image blurred. Why didn't you buy it? The numbers were false. I looked up. Not the design. The design was exceptional. His voice lowered. Everything surrounding it was rotten. The balcony door opened. A broad-shouldered man with graying hair stepped outside carrying a slim black folder. Daniel Mercer, Ethan said. My advisor. Daniel gave me a restrained nod and placed the folder on the table between us. Inside were contracts. Cost projections. Copies of Ryan's presentation slides. I recognized phrases I had written at 2 in the morning in our first apartment. Design should make people feel free before they understand why. Ryan had once kissed my forehead after reading that sentence. Then he had put his name beneath it. I closed the folder. What do you want from me? The truth, Ethan said. No. Men like you never want only the truth. A muscle shifted in his jaw. You don't know what men like me want. I know you turned my humiliation into a public statement. I stopped it. You used it. Daniel's eyes moved toward Ethan, but he said nothing. I stepped closer. You knew Ryan was afraid of you. You walked onto that floor because you wanted him to react. Yes. The honesty struck harder than denial would have. And I was convenient. No, you asked me technical questions while everyone watched. You tested me. I listened to you. That isn't the same thing. Rain ticked softly against the railing. Ethan's gaze held mine, stripped of the polished calm he had worn downstairs. I suspected Caldwell had stolen the work, he said. I did not know from whom. And now? Now I know whose voice is buried inside every page. The anger in me shifted. Not gone. Just complicated by the way he said it. As if he had heard something no one else had bothered to notice. Daniel slid a card across the table. Meet me tomorrow, he said. Neutral location. No, Mr. Cross. I'll show you what we verified. I looked at Ethan. He gave one small nod. No pressure. No command. That unsettled me more than either would have. I'll think about it. I turned toward the door. Ethan did not stop me. The corridor outside was empty now, but before I reached the ballroom, Ryan stepped from the shadows. His smile was gone. He seized my elbow and pulled me behind a velvet curtain near the service entrance. Are you insane? He hissed. I tore my arm free. Don't touch me. You have no idea who you're dealing with. I know exactly who I'm dealing with, Ryan. His eyes flicked toward the private corridor. Not jealous. Terrified. That frightened me. Stay away from Cross, he said. Whatever he offered you, refuse it. He offered me information. Ryan's face tightened. For half a second, I saw the man beneath the charm. The man who had erased my name and expected me to thank him for leaving me alive. You think he chose you because you matter, he whispered. He chose you because he wants what you can destroy. I held his stare. Then why are you the one who looks afraid? Ryan went silent. Behind him, the ballroom doors opened. Light spilled across his face. And in that sudden brightness, I saw something I had never seen during all the years I loved him. Guilt. By morning, Ryan's guilt had become the only thing I could think about. Not the ballroom. Not the laughter. Not even Ethan Cross's hand around mine. Guilt had a shape. I had seen it in the way Ryan's eyes shifted before he recovered. In the tightness around his mouth. In the fear that appeared whenever Ethan's name was spoken. At 10, I walked into a quiet cafe near Bryant Park. Daniel Mercer was already seated in the back corner. No guards. No black cars waiting at the curb. Still, the waitress avoided looking directly at him. He rose as I approached and placed his phone face down on the table. Mr. Cross isn't here. I noticed. He wanted to be. Something in me warmed before I could stop it. I sat. Daniel opened a leather case and removed 3 folders. No dramatic pause. No warning. Just paper sliding across polished wood. The first contained presentation drafts from Ryan's company. The second held invoices from contractors I had never met. The third contained copies of design registrations. My name appeared nowhere. Until the final page. Claire Bennett. The signature looked like mine. It leaned slightly right. The C curved inward. Even the final T in Bennett was crossed too high. It was almost perfect. Almost. I didn't sign this. Daniel studied me carefully. You're certain? When I'm nervous, I press harder on the second half of my name. The ink should deepen here. I touched the page. It didn't. The pressure was even. Someone had copied the appearance of my signature without understanding the hand that made it. A coldness moved through me. What does this document do? It transfers all intellectual ownership connected to the original development package to Caldwell Creative. My chest tightened. So even if I prove the ideas were mine, he claims you surrendered them voluntarily. The coffee machine hissed behind us. A spoon struck porcelain. Small sounds from a normal world. I stared at the false signature until anger replaced the shock. What do we need? Original drafts. Metadata. Emails. A witness who saw you create the work before the transfer date. I don't have a witness. Then we find the files. I thought of the external drive at the bottom of my closet. Gray plastic. Cracked along one edge. I had carried it through 3 apartments without opening it. It held client notes, early sketches, photographs of Ryan asleep beside my laptop. A whole life compressed into something small enough to fit in my palm. I might have something. Daniel did not smile. Where? At home. A shadow passed over the window. A black sedan stopped at the curb. Ethan stepped out alone. I looked at Daniel. You said he wasn't coming. He wasn't invited. The cafe door opened. Ethan's gaze found me immediately, then moved to the forged document beneath my hand. For the first time since I met him, his control slipped. Only slightly. But I saw it. He sat beside Daniel, not me. What did Caldwell use her signature for? Daniel answered without softening it. Full transfer. Retroactive. Ethan's expression became still in a way that felt more dangerous than anger. I can have his offices searched before lunch. No, I said. Both men looked at me. You can't solve this by breaking doors. I wasn't planning to break them. That isn't reassuring. His eyes held mine. What are you planning? I recover the drive. Daniel verifies it. Then I decide what happens next. Ethan leaned back. He was not accustomed to being given boundaries. I could see the instinct to argue rise inside him. Then he swallowed it. Fine. The single word surprised me. He reached into his coat and placed a business card on the table. A private data recovery specialist. No demand. No conditions. Just an option. By noon, we were inside a narrow electronics workshop in Queens. The technician connected the damaged drive to a recovery system while Ethan stood near the door, silent enough to disappear if not for the weight of his presence. Hours passed. Files appeared one by one. Broken images. Unreadable drafts. Fragments of the person I had been. Then a single folder emerged intact. Its title filled the monitor. Caldwell, Cross Development. My breath stopped. I turned toward Ethan. All warmth had vanished from his face. He stared at the screen as if a grave had opened. And when he finally spoke, his voice was almost too quiet to hear. That file was created the week someone inside my company betrayed me. The technician's workshop suddenly felt too small. Machines hummed around us. Green lights blinked across the recovery console. On the monitor, the folder name remained frozen like an accusation. Caldwell, Cross Development. I looked at Ethan. What betrayal? He did not answer immediately. Daniel closed the workshop door and lowered the blinds. That movement told me more than words could have. Ethan stepped toward the screen. 3 years ago, someone accessed a private development fund connected to my company. Money disappeared through shell accounts. Confidential proposals were copied. Someone close to me was blamed. What happened to her? His eyes darkened. She was investigated. Publicly. The cold certainty in his voice made my stomach tighten. Was she guilty? No, one word. Heavy with consequences. Daniel pulled a chair beside the computer and opened the recovered folder. Most of the files were damaged, their names reduced to broken symbols and dates. One remained readable. Access authorization, C. Bennett. My name. My throat closed. Daniel opened it. A transfer log filled the screen. My old email address. My employee identification from Ryan's company. A digital authorization recorded at 2:14 in the morning. I remembered that night. Ryan had brought wine home. He had insisted I stop working. He had taken my laptop into the other room because he said I needed rest. The memory turned poisonous inside me. I didn't authorize this. Ethan watched me with an expression I could not read. Daniel spoke carefully. The transaction came from your account. That isn't the same thing. No, Ethan said. It isn't. But something in his voice had changed. Distance. Calculation. The man from the dance floor had disappeared. In his place stood someone trained to doubt first and feel later. I pushed away from the desk. Is this why you approached me? His silence answered before he did. At the gala, I continued. Did you already know my name? I knew the account. The word struck harder than Ryan's laughter. The dance. The questions. The way Ethan had watched my face when I described the installation. You thought I helped him. I considered it. And you let me believe you stepped in because he was humiliating you? His jaw tightened. I did. But that wasn't all. No, the honesty that had once felt clean now cut straight through me. I grabbed my coat. Ethan moved into my path, then stopped before blocking the door. That restraint almost made it worse. Claire. You didn't offer me your hand. His eyes narrowed slightly. You offered me a test. It stopped being that. When? He had no answer fast enough. I laughed once, but there was no humor in it. That's what I thought. I walked past him. Outside, Queens was gray with afternoon rain. Cars hissed over wet pavement. Somewhere down the block, a delivery driver shouted at a cyclist. Ordinary life continued while mine rearranged itself again. Ethan followed me onto the sidewalk. I didn't know what Caldwell had done to you. And I didn't know what you thought I had done to you. I believe you now. I turned. Because the evidence changed? Because you did. The words landed too close to the part of me that still wanted to trust him. I hated him for seeing that. You don't get credit for deciding I'm innocent after studying me long enough. His expression hardened, but not with anger. With regret. I was wrong. You were careful. In my world, careful keeps people alive. In mine, it lets powerful men use women while pretending they had no choice. He flinched. Barely. But I saw it. I left him standing in the rain. That night, I sat alone on my apartment floor with copies of the recovered logs spread around me. Dates. Account numbers. Access records. Every path seemed to begin with me and end with Ryan. Then I noticed something Daniel had missed. The authorization time was 2:14 a.m. At 2:09, my phone had uploaded a photograph automatically. Ryan asleep on our couch. Or pretending to be. My laptop was open beside him. 5 minutes before someone used my identity to move Ethan's money. I zoomed in. On the edge of the screen was a second email account I had never seen. I wrote down the address. Before I could call Daniel, my phone vibrated. Unknown number. A photograph appeared. Me leaving the cafe that morning. Another followed. Ethan outside the workshop. Then a third. A young boy holding Ethan's hand outside a private school. The child had Ethan's eyes. Below the image were 5 words. Stop digging, or he falls too. My blood went cold. A final message appeared. You already destroyed 1 cross. Don't make it 2. The photograph of the boy stayed on my screen until the light dimmed. I did not call Daniel. I called Ethan. He answered before the first ring finished. Claire. No greeting. No hesitation. As if he had been waiting for the sound of my fear. I received a message. His voice changed. Read it. I did. Silence followed. Not empty silence. The kind filled with decisions being made far away from me. Lock your door, he said. Do not stand near the windows. A black SUV arrived outside my building 4 minutes later. Then another. Men appeared at both ends of the street. Efficient. Quiet. Already watching doors, rooftops, passing cars. My anger arrived just behind my fear. I stepped into the hallway and found 2 guards outside my apartment. Move. Neither did. Mr. Cross instructed us, this is my home. The elevator opened. Ethan walked out with rain darkening the shoulders of his coat. He looked at the guards once. They moved. I held up my phone. Who is the boy? My nephew. Noah. Is he in danger? Not anymore. The answer was too immediate. Too certain. What did you do? What was necessary? A cold pressure built behind my ribs. You put people around his school. And around you. I didn't ask for that. You received a threat containing a child's photograph. That does not give you ownership of my life. His eyes flashed. This is not about ownership. Then why are strangers standing outside my bedroom? Because someone has been close enough to photograph you for days. His control cracked on the last word. For the first time, I heard the fear beneath it. Not fear for himself. Fear of arriving too late. It should have softened me. Instead, it made me angrier. You keep deciding that danger erases my right to choose. Danger does not wait for permission. Neither do you. The hallway went still. Ethan looked past me into the apartment, at the papers spread across the floor. You found something. I almost denied it. Then I remembered Ryan's face at the gala. The forged signature. The photograph of Noah. Secrets had already cost enough. I led Ethan inside. He stopped beside the enlarged image from my phone, the one showing Ryan asleep beside my laptop. I pointed to the unfamiliar email account on the screen. Someone used that address 5 minutes before the transfer. Ethan read it. Recognition moved across his face. Small. Fatal. You know it. He closed his eyes once. My sister used that domain. I waited. When he looked at me again, the man who ruled rooms was gone. Only the brother remained. Her name was Evelyn. He sat on the edge of my chair but did not lean back. Years earlier, Evelyn had worked inside the charitable division of Ethan's company. She had discovered false invoices connected to men Ethan trusted. She tried to expose them. They answered by leaking private photographs, altering financial records, and turning her into the scandal. The newspapers called her unstable, he said. People who had eaten at our table testified against her. His hand tightened around nothing. She stopped leaving the house. What happened? She survived. The way he said it told me survival had not been victory. She lives under another name now. Far from here. She has not spoken to me in 18 months. Why? Because I punished everyone involved. I felt the room grow colder. But you couldn't undo what they did to her. No, the word nearly broke. And now you see her every time you look at me. His gaze rose sharply. I stepped closer. That night at the gala. You weren't only stopping Ryan. Ethan said nothing. You were trying to save her again. His face hardened. I was trying to prevent history from repeating. By repeating your own mistake. What mistake? Taking control because you were terrified. He stood. The space between us disappeared, charged with anger and something more painful. You think I should have done nothing? I think you should have trusted her enough to ask what she needed. His voice dropped. I asked once. And when she didn't give you the answer you wanted? His silence told me everything. I shook my head. I am not Evelyn. I know that. Then stop protecting me like I am a wound you failed to close. The word struck him cleanly. He stepped back. Outside, one of the guards shifted near the door. Ethan looked toward the sound, then at me. What do you want? The question was quiet. Real. I gathered the documents from the floor and placed Ryan's donor presentation invitation on top. The foundation board was meeting in 48 hours. Ryan would unveil the development project there. Publicly. Confidently. Under his own name. We let him present. Ethan's expression darkened. He threatened my family. And that is exactly why he expects you to destroy him before he speaks. I can end this tonight. No. You can end Ryan. I held up the forged transfer. But that will not clear me. His jaw flexed. What are you proposing? We make him defend the work in front of the people funding it. He will lie. Then we give him enough rope to make every lie visible. Ethan studied me for a long moment. Then he turned toward the apartment door. Where are you going? He opened it and looked at the guards. Leave. Neither man moved. Ethan's voice became steel. She asked for her home back. They disappeared into the elevator. He returned and placed his phone on the table between us. No commands. No conditions. No hidden protection I could see. Tell me the plan. I slid the invitation toward him. This time, Ryan is going to introduce me himself. The donor presentation began beneath white lights and perfect smiles. Ryan stood at the front of the ballroom with his name glowing across a 30-foot screen. Caldwell Creative. He looked untouchable. I waited behind the closed doors with Ethan beside me. He wore the same controlled expression he had worn the night we met, but his hands told the truth. One fist opened. Closed. Opened again. You can still walk away, he said. So can you. His gaze settled on me. No, the answer was too quiet. Too honest. I looked toward the doors. Then don't save me in there. A muscle moved in his jaw. I gave you my word. And if the plan fails? His eyes hardened. Then I break it. That was Ethan. Even when he tried to step back, power remained the language his fear spoke first. The ballroom doors opened. I entered alone. The shift in the room was immediate. Recognition. Whispers. Ryan's smile held for half a second too long. Then he recovered. Claire Bennett, he announced, turning my arrival into part of his performance. My former assistant. Exactly as planned. He gestured toward the audience. She contributed during our early years. I invited her tonight because I believe in honoring everyone who played a small role in our success. Small. The word moved through me without cutting this time. I walked to the front row. Then you won't mind answering a few questions. The room sharpened. Ryan laughed lightly. Of course. I asked about the central atrium. He answered with polished phrases about openness and movement. I asked how the suspended installation distributed weight. He spoke about reinforced steel. Wrong. I asked why the east support line had been offset by 3 degrees. His eyes flickered. It creates visual tension. No, I said. It compensates for the wind pressure from the river-facing ventilation system. Silence spread outward. Ryan's smile thinned. I moved closer to the model. What happens if the center line is installed according to your published specifications? He glanced toward the board. The structure remains stable. It fractures. I touched the miniature glass birds. I know because I placed the error in the earliest draft. A murmur passed through the donors. Ryan's face changed. Not fear yet. Calculation. I continued. It was a private marker. A deliberate flaw. Anyone who understood the design would have corrected it. Behind me, Daniel activated the screen. My original sketches appeared beside Ryan's proposal. Metadata. Dates. Revision histories. The truth arranged in clean columns. Madison sat in the front row, her face pale. Ryan turned toward her. Don't believe this. She has been obsessed with me since we ended. There it was. His final weapon. Not evidence. My emotions. I faced the room. This is not about who left whom. My voice did not shake. It is about who created the work. Madison looked at Ryan. You told me she handled scheduling. She did. Then why are her initials embedded in the original file structure? Ryan stared at her. For the first time, they were no longer standing on the same side. Daniel displayed the recovered drive records. My forged signature appeared on the screen. The board chairman leaned forward. Mr. Caldwell, can you explain this transfer? Ryan looked around the room. At investors. At Madison. At me. Then his panic settled into something almost calm. I can explain all of it. He reached into his briefcase and removed a sealed document. But first, Claire should ask why Ethan Cross has been funding this project from the beginning. The air left the room. Ethan stepped through the doors behind me. Ryan handed the document to the chairman. A bank authorization filled the screen. The original payment. The date. Ethan's corporate seal. His name. I turned toward him. He did not deny it. He did not move. Every fragile piece of trust between us seemed to crack at once. Ryan's voice became soft with victory. Ask your protector why his name was on the first payment. The chairman turned the document toward Ethan. Is that your corporate seal? Ethan studied it. Yes. The words struck the room like a match. Ryan smiled. My hands went cold. Ethan had known. Maybe not everything. But enough. I looked at him across the ballroom and saw every moment between us rearrange itself, the dance, the evidence, the warning in his eyes when the recovered folder opened. Claire, he said. Not here. My voice barely carried, yet the room heard it. I walked through the side doors before anyone could stop me. Ethan followed me into the empty gallery beyond the ballroom. Paintings watched from gilded frames. Music from the presentation leaked through the walls, muffled and distant. I can explain, he said. I turned on him. You had every opportunity. I did not authorize Caldwell's project. Your name is on the payment. My company's name. That distinction only matters to people powerful enough to hide behind corporations. Pain crossed his face. He reached inside his jacket and removed a small drive. Daniel traced the transaction this morning. You waited until now? We needed Caldwell to submit the document publicly. If we exposed it earlier, he would claim it was fabricated. You used me as bait again. No, the answer came too quickly. Too desperately. I was prepared to stop the presentation. And erase my chance to clear my name. I was prepared to protect you. There it is. The words broke between us. The same answer every time. Ethan stepped closer. Someone threatened Noah. Someone built a case around your identity. I will not apologize for wanting you out of that room. I never asked you to apologize for caring. My throat tightened. I asked you to trust me. Silence. Behind the doors, voices rose. Ryan was controlling the room again. Ethan held out the drive. This contains the internal authorization chain. The payment was routed through a shell company created during the breach. My seal was copied from Evelyn's division. I stared at it. And Ryan? He used your credentials to initiate the transfer, then used mine to legitimize it. The final shape of the betrayal settled into place. Ryan had not simply stolen my work. He had built a bridge between two victims and convinced each side the other was responsible. Why? I whispered. To secure the development money, bury the theft, and give himself two enemies who would destroy each other before looking at him. The ballroom doors opened. Daniel appeared. We have 5 minutes before the board suspends the presentation. Ethan extended the drive again. I can take you out through the private exit. I almost laughed. Even now. Even after everything. He was offering escape because escape was the only gift fear knew how to give. No, Claire, if I leave, Ryan keeps the room. Ethan's hand slowly lowered. For the first time, he looked powerless. Not because he lacked control. Because he understood that using it would cost him me. What do you need? He asked. I looked at the drive. Give me the evidence. He placed it in my palm. And then? You stay here. His eyes darkened. That is not safe. It is my choice. Every instinct in him fought the words. I could see it. Then he stepped back. 1 pace. The hardest distance he had ever crossed. I returned to the ballroom alone. Ryan was speaking when I entered. A coordinated attempt to damage my reputation. I walked past him and handed the drive to Daniel. The screen changed. Transaction routes appeared. Shell companies. Copied credentials. Timestamps. Ryan's face emptied. Madison rose from her chair. That account, she said slowly. You told me it belonged to a consultant in Boston. Ryan turned toward her. Sit down. She did not. I transferred money into it. The room shifted. Ryan had forgotten the first rule of lying. Eventually, you lie to someone who remembers. Daniel displayed Madison's transfer beside the stolen funds. Same destination. Same controller. Ryan. Security moved toward him. He looked past me toward the gallery doors, expecting Ethan to appear. He did not. That frightened Ryan more than violence would have. I faced the man who had built his name from mine. You spent years telling people I was nothing without you. His mouth opened. No sound came. I stepped closer. Now tell them who you are without my work. Ryan's mouth opened. Nothing came out. For once, he had no story ready. The board chairman rose slowly from his seat. Mr. Caldwell, step away from the presentation. Ryan looked around the ballroom as if someone might still save him. Madison would not meet his eyes. The investors who had laughed at his jokes were already gathering their papers. Security closed in from both sides, calm and professional. No spectacle. No violence. Just consequence. Ryan turned to me. You think this makes you important? The question carried the last of his cruelty. But it no longer had anywhere to land. No, I said. I was important before anyone in this room knew my name. Security escorted him out beneath the glass birds he had claimed as his own. They trembled gently in the air above us. But they did not fall. 3 weeks later, the foundation restored my authorship publicly. 6 weeks later, Caldwell Creative lost its largest contracts. Ryan faced charges for fraud, forgery, and financial theft. Madison cooperated with the investigation and returned every document he had hidden inside accounts opened in her name. Ethan never touched him. That mattered more than I expected. He could have buried Ryan in silence. Instead, he let the truth remain visible. As for me, I refused every offer that came with invisible strings. I opened Bennett's studio in a narrow brick building with uneven floors and windows that caught the afternoon sun. My first client was small. My second was smaller. Both contracts carried my name. That was enough. Months after the gala, Ethan's hotel reopened the ballroom. The installation had been rebuilt from my original plans. The fractured panels were replaced. The concealed third tension line was restored. This time, a brass plaque stood beneath the birds. Claire Bennett. I touched the letters once. Not because I needed proof. Because I had survived the years when there was none. The room slowly filled behind me. Music began. I saw Ethan near the far wall. Alone. He had come without guards, without Daniel, without the gravity of men waiting for his next command. He had also kept his promise. No calls I had not invited. No gifts I had not accepted. No attempt to turn gratitude into obligation. He saw me looking and gave a small nod. Then he stayed where he was. The first night we met, he had crossed an entire ballroom to reach me. Now he waited. I walked toward him. His eyes followed every step, but he did not move until I stopped in front of him. The installation is stronger, he said. The third line was always supposed to be there. I know. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Around us, people admired the light passing through the glass. I heard your studio is doing well, he said. It is. I'm glad. That was all. No claim. No offer. Just pride he did not try to own. I looked at his hand resting at his side. The first time you asked me to dance, I thought you were rescuing me. And now? Now I know you were trying to. Regret moved through his face. I'm sorry. I know. The music softened. Ethan glanced toward the dance floor, then back at me. He waited for a permission he once would have assumed. So I extended my hand. Dance with me. His breath caught. Only slightly. But I felt it when his fingers closed around mine. This time, the room did not disappear because he controlled it. It disappeared because I had chosen where to stand. He led the first step. I chose the second. Above us, the glass birds carried the light without breaking. And I finally understood something Ryan never had. Power can make a room look at you. But dignity decides who deserves your hand.